Hi folks, with us today, Tacitus today, your pushback channel. Thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the effects of mass migration. Remember, it's mass migration that's been inflicted and forced upon all white Western countries without the consent of the people, indeed in direct and aggressive defiance of the wishes of the people. But I get reminded of how much things have changed and how quickly they change when I use the public transport system. So I had some business to do in the CBD of Sydney. So I took public transport in there, and within the train that I was on, and I'll come back to that in a minute, but the train I was on stopped, and then two other trains sort of went by. I assume there was some sort of congestion in the rail lines, but the train stopped and two other trains went by. And I was actually reading something, but I looked up, and much to my astonishment, as the train went by, it's a full length train, so it's eight or nine carriages length, and each carriage, contains give or take 100 people. But the train went by, and all I could see through the windows was women wearing hijabs and burkas, mainly the hijabs. There was a few burkas, not many, but it's mainly hijabs. Now, they all seemed to be, they didn't look young. They seemed to be middle-aged, in their 40s and 50s, that sort of thing. And they certainly had that look and aura of peasants from rural Islamic Republic. We're talking, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, those sort of places. Not the strict Middle Eastern ones like from Saudi Arabia or something. But so these are from dirt poor, basket case Islamic republics, and so the train went by, and I say every carriage, from what I could see, and certainly the side of the carriage was facing where I was looking. It was just there wasn't anyone in there in the train that wasn't wearing hijab or a burqa. The whole fucking train, for Christ's sakes. I mean, how could you fill up a whole train with people from just the Islamic Republic? I mean, how's that even possible? The government raves constantly about integrate. We only bring in people that speak good English and have skills that are needed. I mean, none of them are on that fucking train. So I noted this with some sort of concern, if not alarm. Now, do I care? Being a well-traveled international travel business guy, if people want to come to Australia, or the West generally, to fit into the society, and to they've got skills and qualifications, credentials, and they can add value, and they can be a contribution to the economy. I've got no problem with them coming in. I welcome them in. There's just very, very few of those people that come from the shithole dirt poor countries. The odd one or two, sure, but not very many. And so if you open the gate, wide open the gates for highly qualified people with skills, real skills. I mean, actual real skills and capabilities that we don't have in the economy, we don't have in the society that we've got here. And then welcome them in, but there'll only be a few hundred a year. That would be it. Maybe a few thousand if we're generous, but that'll be the extent of it. If the bar is high for qualification, very few people from these dirt poor basket case republics, very few make the grade. And because they're so few in number and will be spread out across the whole of Australia, they would integrate, on balance, many would integrate quite quickly, or have a much better chance of integrating this lot. So anyway, the train went by and all the hijabs and burkas there. So I was noting that with some alarm. But then the train that I was sitting in didn't move. And then another train came by, and it's exactly the same, wall to wall, end to end, first carriage to last carriage, absolutely full of burqas and hijabs. And again, the same looking, I mean, they could all be related, for goodness sakes, the same looking middle-aged peasant women wearing Islamic national or religious costume. Two trains. So we're talking, give or take, 2,000 people went by just in a few minutes or less, 2 minutes, whatever that the train I was in was sitting there. So, and that's just in the train stopped. The train I was in stopped maybe 3 or 4 kilometres outside of the Sydney CBD, the central downtown. So that's how close it was to, and these trains coming through. Where the fuck do they come from? Where are these people? Do they live in some exclusive Islamic ghetto? If so, why does any government promote, allow, and encourage that? Why would these people be brought in? They're third world peasants. Well, they've got no skills. And the idea they're in such a group means they probably don't speak a word of English between them. Why bring them into the country? They're not an economic benefit or boon to anybody, or under any circumstances. Yeah, if you think that, you're a fucking Nazi, Hitler, fucking swastika-waving fascist Nazi, bigot, xenophobe, racist. No. If you want to bring people in from other parts of the world and have immigration, that's okay, nothing wrong with that. But make sure they're skilled, they speak English, and they're capable of contributing to, and they don't live in ghettos, for goodness sakes. What's so difficult about that? Now, the train I was on, and I've commented on this before, they seem to be specialising in public transport now, because the people on the train make what they call the guards announcement, is the generic term here. They make these announcements over the train intercom system, and they're supposed to announce, this is the train station we're about to stop at, and this train station you can get connections to other train lines, things like that. So it's fairly important that the person that's making the announcement speaks English that you can understand. But the authorities that control employment for the trains are quite determined that we have to be enriched and diversified to the point where we have no idea what the people are saying over the announcement. You wouldn't fucking know. I mean, I'll try and imitate this, but what? What did you fucking say? Now there's a notice board up on the train that says, or says part of it. Just because I travel this train line on a somewhat regular basis, I know what the station come up is and what the connections through that interchange are. So I know that. So I can listen to what the guy is saying, and then I can work out based on the sounds approximately what that means. But only because I know. I mean, if you didn't know, you wouldn't have a fucking clue what was being said. So we've got a situation here which just shows how determined the authorities are to humiliate, degrade, and just show white people, you're not in charge anymore, you fucking Nazis. When the people that are making the announcements clearly speak English, do not speak English as a first language, that's obvious, but barely speak English at all. And they're the people they choose to make the announcements. Now, that's not an accident. They could easily get people that speak English to make them, easily do. It would be one of the easiest things, but they're determined to get the people that make the announcements can't speak English. Now, if that's not a deliberate attempt to humiliate and degrade, I don't know what is. Now, if I went to another country, in some Asian country, or I don't know, India or whatever, or Pakistan or something, and the announcement over the train intercom was something I couldn't understand, well, I wouldn't think twice. I'm in someone else's country, their language is Urdu or whatever it is, so I'm not going to quibble or complain about it. And if I've got a problem with that, I'll just have to work it out myself. I found that traveling around Tokyo, the signage and the signage is not so bad in Tokyo itself, but when you start getting to the outer suburbs, there's no such helper. You better know what the Japanese characters are, and they'll switch around at the train station. Some will use the straight sort of, if you like, alphabet character set, but there's also a separate, if you like, sort of alphabet, which is pictorial. So it's a picture of something which then symbolizes something else, which then means a word. And so if you're not au fait with that sort of concept of written communication, you're screwed when you're looking. The train stops because they're pretty efficient. The Japanese train stops, and you don't see the graphic you want. Then you desperately flicking through the book trying to. But that's my problem, not theirs. I don't say, hey, you should have all those signs in English. No, I'm in Japan. I've got to work with what their situation is, and the obligation and responsibility is on me, not on them. Be different if it was the epicenter of the international tourists, sort of. Then I would say, hey, can you put some signs in English if you don't mind? But outside of that, no, the problem's mine to deal with. So anyway, here's the thing. So I arrive in the city. Now I have to meet with a number of like trade delegations, and I do a bit of this. So it's. And I speak passable Mandarin, or it's pretty rusty now. But anyway, there are a number of Chinese trade delegation folks there, and very few of them spoke English. Some of them spoke no English whatsoever, and they were sent to Australia, to do business in an English-speaking country when they can't speak English, which was okay, right. But that with the Chinese see it differently. To get a trip to go to another country, you just have to be well connected to the people with power and the power to distribute patronage. That's the cutoff point. It's not whether you speak English or not, whether you have a clue what the products or the services or whatever it is the trade delegation is covering. That's utterly irrelevant. The only thing relevant is, do you know the right people? And that's reflected in the daughter of the Communist Party general gets the gig. And by the way, they're not staying in the local trailer park or something. These people who can't speak English and don't know diddly squat about whatever they're doing and are just there, again, because of the patronage, they're staying in that 5-star, the top range hotels, no trailer parks for them, or not even, 3.5-star hotels or something. We're talking top of the town. Now, what was most interesting, though, was there was an Indian trade delegation. They're mostly Sikhs in this case, and their English was decent enough, good enough, certainly better than the Chinese anyway. And one of them was quite chatty, and he was talking about doing business across the West, and he's talking about how he's got relatives and people from his village who are all over the West, Canada, Britain, America, and so on. And they fanned out all across the world. And so I asked him, well, why, have they emigrated? He sort of shrugged. Oh, no, they're just there for the money. I thought, hold on a minute. Why is it so many Indians, including Sikhs, why is it so many Indians want to get the fuck out of India? He says, it's a really dirty place, and it's polluted, and it's badly run, badly administered. The government's useless. That's what we want to get out, really. But we don't really want to go. It's not like we want to go to the West. I said, what do you mean? Well, we only go to the West because that's where the money is. We're not going because we want to go, or because we want to integrate, or we're sort of emigrating, or we want to be part of, or because we want to be part of Western society. No. We're going because we're so. Wait a minute, you do want to get out of India. You sort of concede that, but it's a reluctance. They'd rather not have to get out of India if they could. So, okay, all right, then I understand that. But the reason you go to the West is just because that's where the money is, not because you actually want to go. He says, yeah, that's, hey, you nailed it, buddy. I said, okay, all right then. So you're just here in the West to the white West to loot the white man's treasury. And he came back, bang, within a nanosecond, he came back, said, you stole everything from us, meaning the white people stole it. So the Indians are living, as I mentioned this before, living this mythical sort of view that they were a rich country where gold, milk and honey and everything just fell from the sky until evil fascist Nazi Hitler swastika white guy turned up. I mean, the white guy turned up in the 1500s, so hardly a Hitler time, but they're sort of thinking from the minute the second that the first white guy put his foot on the Indian sort of subcontinent, from the second he arrived, suddenly their wealth magically vanished, and that precise moment and day, and so they now have to go to all the white man's countries and steal all the white man's money. So I mean, you can get into the semantics of it, like, well, the first traders to arrive in India were the Portuguese. Why don't you all go to Portugal? No, Portugal's a poor country. Oh, okay. So you only want to go to the white countries that are rich. Yeah. And it's just take back the money that the white people stole from you. Yep, that's it. But we don't want to. You don't want to integrate. You don't want to become part of it. No. It's the money. We want the fucking money. And if we make enough money, we'll go back to India, live in a rich Indian enclave, and be very happy. So anyways, now this is from a country where 400 odd million people in India every day use the street and anywhere as their toilet. They'll just squat and drop a crap anywhere where they are, and that's what it is. So I'm not surprised people want to get out of India if that's how it works. And all these beaches on the river, beaches along the river, the Ganges, and all that. It's just hundreds of people. Any minute you look at that, there's hundreds of people just squatting on the beach having a shit. So you can understand maybe why people want to get out of India, but and come to the rich, fascist, Nazi, evil white West. Now the same thing. The guy complains that the people in the West are racist. Meaning what exactly? Racist how? Indians by the gazillion are pouring into every Western country. If the Western countries were indeed racist, as you claim, then they wouldn't let these Indians in. Well, yeah, that's a bit of an inconvenient fact to discuss. And he defines racist as not according sufficient respect to Indians. So it's not about are you allowed in, or can you go to school, or can you get a job, or is there affirmative action programs giving you jobs, and that sort of thing is just waved away as being an entitlement. We're entitled to come to the West. We're entitled to DEI jobs. We're entitled to gift degrees from college. We're entitled to your social services, and we're entitled. But if you don't show us sufficient respect, then we will say you're racist. Well, what is the respect? Well, we're culturally and morally superior to you, the white people. So you have to respect us within that context. And if you don't, you're racist. So is that how you define racist? Well, that's a strangled and interesting sort of unique definition of what racism is. But this was an interesting conversation with this Indian dude that, no, we're just here for the money. We don't want anything to do with you people. We tolerate you white people only because you're here where the money is. That's the only reason we put up with you. And so, and yet the white people are the racist. Yeah. So anyway, that was that. So no, I had to walk. I don't have to walk through it, but I walked through there's a part of the finance district, if you like, of Sydney, and I like to walk through there, which is a slight detour from where I'm walking, but I like to walk through there because I get to look at all the little meetings and all these little sort of cafe type cubby holes that are on both sides of this sort of mall as I walk through it. And this is where they have the finance companies. They come out for these little groups and little teams having meetings, and it gives you a great snapshot into, certainly in the finance district anyway, it gives you a great snapshot into how the racial structuring of the folks who work in these finance companies. And I don't think I've done this before, and I've mentioned it, but I don't think I saw a single meeting where they had a white person in charge and brown people or black people reporting to the white boss, with brown and black underlings reporting to them. But the reverse, brown and black bosses with white underlings is the norm here. Now we're talking lower to lower middle management, and maybe middle management. So the upper middle management aren't doing this, or not that I could detect. There was one, for example, where there was a woman, I would think late 20s, Indian, very Brahmin looking, but looks like she came from money, quite refined, quite a sophisticated look, by the way, but speaking with a very thick Indian accent. So she was there, and she was and all the team were white men. I can imagine this would be orgasmic as she reports back to her family in India. I am the boss of white men. White men. I am telling the white men what to do. They do everything they say. And if they don't give me proper respect, I kick her. You know, like, wow. This is insane. Who would want this? Now, if she wants to be the boss of, a finance company department in India, I don't care. I'm fine. If she's won the job on merit and she's the best person, I don't really dispute that. That's okay. But she's clearly an affirmative action hire. And she's lording it over these, but she has no concept of, she's used to telling peasant servants what to do, that given she's a Brahmin, I'm pretty sure she is, then she's used to telling peasant servants what to do, but qualified men white men what to do, she doesn't know, and it's obvious, just even at a distance looking at, she's got this smug smile of, you do this, you do that, you lick my boots, and that she's got that sort of approach to it, rather than treating it as a professional meeting. So I watched this and managed to stop and pretend that I was doing a text while I sidled up and listened to what was going on. She's drunk on the fucking power of it all, but she's not there through any form of merit, and this is my issue. If you any of those little meetings where they got the black brown person in charge I would be surprised if any of those black brown people have those positions on merit. I would suggest none of them do. So all they're doing is replacing white people with unqualified black and brown people. No economy can sustain that sort of behaviour. Now, the financial sector can, because they're government protected, they're monopoly, oligopoly, cartel pricing, so they can do that and get away with it. But no economy. But the cost of that is still passed on to the consumer in higher fees and higher cost of goods and so on. So we're all paying for this, and it's a very high price we're paying, and it needs to stop. You've been a Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.